Welcome back to In the Know. We're talking all about tea tonight. And don't forget, our phone lines are open, so please give us a call and share any of your questions and comments that you have about tea. So, Raelene, we're going to go straight into it. We are going to talk about all the fun things that you have brought in tonight to do with tea. And I know that we do have something in here in the little glass here, and brewing. You're talking about how brewing is really important when it comes to tea.
I think so we could get tasting. I'm going to put the hot water in here first, and then we can talk about the different types. This one is a green tea. It's a sencha with a grape flavoring in it and some little grapes. So this is a great unit. I use this a lot, and you just make sure for green tea that you're brewing it at the proper temperature, which is about it's about 80 to 85 degrees Celsius is what I prefer.
For all green tea? And
all green
what's
tea.
the benefit there, Raelene?
It doesn't burn the leaves. If you burn the leaves of a green tea, it pulls the astringency out and you'll never get it back. It's kind of like, you know, if you burn into wood, you can never get it back. You may as well throw it out.
It has a very specific taste to it. If it's burnt.
Now, 80 degrees do about 2 minutes, so I'll just try and watch.
And 80 degrees is kind of the perfect temperature then for all green teas.
Anything more delicate would be lower temperature. If you don't have a thermometer and you're not really sure, brew the lightest colored teas, so the white teas at the lowest temperature, and the black darkest teas at full rolling boil, 212, Fahrenheit. So it's just a general rule of thumb if you don't have anything. And if you don't have a thermometer, boil your water, let it sit for 5 minutes, then pour it for your hot water.
And so for your more lighter teas, the white and the green teas, because at my cutout at home is just one temperature. I turn it on, it starts making lots of noise, and that's it.
That's why I really prefer this. This is my favorite one. There are more that are even more expensive, but this Oster is I get it at Canadian Tire, and it has the digital. You can do it for the right temperatures. You can set it for the right temperatures. Breville has a really great one. It's actually pre-programmed. You just push green tea, so it's pretty idiot-proof, and you do that. So it just really helps get the best enjoyment out of the tea. If you boil it, if you take a green tea and you do it at full rolling boil, it just pulls the astringency out, and that's why most people don't enjoy green tea.
Now, let's talk about the water. Before we get into everything here, let's talk about the water, because is this a myth? It needs to be like distilled, clean water that you boil for tea, or does it not really matter?
Not distilled, but filtered. It should be spring water. It's kind of like wine. They say, cook with the best wine you can afford.
So it does affect the taste
It does affect the taste. And the other interesting, really, I find thing is that when you go away somewhere and you find you have a great cup of tea and you say, oh, I want to buy that tea. So you buy that tea that you like, you go home and you go to make it, it won't be the same.
Why is
because
that?
the
Why
water.
Is that?
It's the water.
It's the water.
Because the water in Toronto is different than the water in Saskatchewan, is different in Chicago,
China,
and everywhere. So it's different tasting water. So don't, it'll be close. It's not going to be that far off, but if you notice a subtle difference, it's because of the water. People don't really think about how much. I mean, tea is basically 93 to 96% water.
Yeah.
It's an infusion.
So interesting. See, this is what we're learning tonight. Everything to do with tea, right? Now you have
I think we're ready to brew this off. So I'm just gonna.
So you want to talk about that first, then?
Yeah. We'll just put this in cup, and
So it's making some noise there. Oh, okay, great. So again, Raelene, if you can just remind the viewers, what are we seeing here? What tea leaves are in there?
We're infusing. We've infused. This looks like a little bit. I got a little more than you did. Sorry,
it's You're the expert.
Basically 2.5 grams per 6-ounce cup is what you're supposed to use. Now, if you don't have a special weight measure that goes down to that small of increments, like us tea sommelier geeks would have, then it would be use teaspoon for black tea and small teas like rooibos and that kind of thing, and use a tablespoon for white tea and large leaf teas, which we can talk about. So that's if you don't have a scale, then you go teaspoon for smaller fine teas and tablespoon for larger, because you're going on volume and weight.
Yeah. Okay. Another excellent tip to know when
There's a couple little tricks, and as long as you know them, you're fine.
And should you be brewing tea for a lot of cups of teacups, or should you just kind of break it down to 2 or 4 or even 3?
Well,
Like, should you be brewing tea in bulk?
You know, it really depends on how you're going to drink it. You know, tea is such a great thing to set up for your ritual. I do some teaching that writing workshops, because tea is a trigger. It's a memoir trigger, and it's that kind of thing. So it actually is a way to get yourself grounded for the day. And so you get your vessel, get your tea, get your water, get your cup.
Yeah.
Pour your tea and go, okay, here's my list to do today. And it's a calming moment.
That's the case for many people, because
it's
when
amazing.
I think of tea,
yeah.
calm, peace, right?
Yeah, they say, you know, calm you, just settle you down, write your day. And then if you want, you can have an extra bit of, you know, hot water in a thermos if you're at your desk or something, or you can go when you're ready to have another cup. The other way to drink tea is obviously with friends. So you have a bunch of girlfriends over, so you're brewing it in a pot of tea, so then you're brewing it in 4 or 5 cups at a time.
In your little pot. And
in your teapot, for sure. So it really depends on what you're doing, or if you're on your own, or if you're with a bunch of friends. Because tea is, you know, you can enjoy it in many different ways.
Okay, so can we actually taste this tea? Because I am excited to.
Yeah, and so this is a green tea with a grape. And it'll almost have like a wine component to it. It'll almost have like a wine kind of finish to it because of the grapes.
It tastes really good. Like for me, I'm attracted more to the teas that are floral, that have a lot of, you know, the fruity taste to it, the fruity smells to it.
Yeah, yeah.
Is this one of them? Because
that's a grape, yeah.
It's really fragrant.
Yeah, they are. And that's the thing about it, because the dry leaf smells good, and the liquor, they call that liquor when it's brewed, it's called a liquor. And the liquor is actually the same. I mean, normally, if you didn't drink in a red cup and it was a white or a clear cup, then you could actually see the color difference between a white and a green and a black. I mean, there's so much different variation between the liquor in a white tea to the liquor of a black tea. It's just night and day. So
now, to me, this taste has a very light taste to it. It's not very strong.
Right.
Is there a reason behind that?
It's because it's a green tea, and it's a sencha base, so it's not going to have a lot of astringency. If it was a Chinese green, like a Longjing or an Imperial Dragon Well, which are traditional Chinese teas, then it would be a little bit more astringent, a little bit stronger. And then this one's more of a Japanese sencha style, so it's a little bit more vegetable. It doesn't have that astringency as easily in it, so it'll be a little bit smoother with the grape.
Okay, so we actually just have a few minutes left in the segment, but I wanted to get started on what you brought here.
This is just a visual.
A whole array of
this is a visual to show you the difference of teas. So basically, we have white here, and we go to black. So
we're starting white.
That's a white tea, which is a white pomegranate that we have. That's really nice and mild. And the difference between white to the black is really the processing. Yeah, and it's just the same plant. It's just how it's processed. The tea master. It's a real craft. So that's why I find it so fascinating that the same plant can produce all these different varieties. Just depends on the blender and the craft and that kind of thing.
Now, in your opinion, Raelene, what part of the world crafts the best tea then?
Well, China's probably had the most experience with it, and so they do have, you know, real tea masters. Now, I'm sure the Indian group would feel that India has a lot of history with it too, and they don't do as much blending. I think China's probably kind of done the gamut of the most varieties of tea for sure.
Okay, perfect. So when we come back, we're going to taste more teas, and it's all about Tea 101. Stay tuned.